there, welcome back to another installation of Culpeper County Parks and Recreation's Crafty Creations, virtual tutorials. So today we're going to do our take on a primitive meets shabby chick. And what I mean by that is it's kind of like a softie, something simple that's egg-shaped and minimal, decoration. And you can be creative in terms of making them different sizes, different shapes. Essentially, well, I say different shapes, but keeping that oval as your basic overall shape, because it makes it easy, because this is no sew, which means we're going to use the glue gun, the hot glue gun, as our thread needle. Sewing is very important. It's a good skill to know, and it certainly comes in handy, but for this craft, we're just going to simplify things, and we are going to carefully glue the edges of our craft together and stuff it. So the other items you need, of course, Polyfiber Fill or something, you could try rice or other types of filler, the little balls, an old shirt, socks. I would encourage you to use whatever you have on hand, but normally, I keep this kind of thing around the house for a variety of projects, not just crafts, but other uses. So, and a bag of that will go very far. And then you will want Raffia, however you pronounce that. I guess it's Raffia. Anyway, so you have this, the dried grass, and buttons for eyes, or any type of button. This is a little tiny bow, something you could use as decor. This is a pin in the event that you want to make something even smaller than this and have it be, a pin, maybe for spring or for Easter. Some feathers, blush for the cheeks, and obviously for the body you're going to need fabric. And what I'm using here is muslin cloth that you can get pretty much anywhere. And I have several scraps of that. Or you could use felt, whatever you would like to do. I'm going to stick with the muslin today. And for feet and beak, just a sheet, what is this, an 8x10 or 12 sheet of yellow orangish fabric. And as I said, glue gun, you'll need scissors to have on hand. If you have a fabric pencil, grab it, or marker. That will help. If not, you can use a pencil, because you can actually write or draw on the muslin. And I will say, this craft will be a precursor to a craft we will do later that will involve how to stain your fabric with coffees and teas to give it that sort of aged look, as well as paint and glue. But we'll get to that later. So for today, let's jump into how to get this shabby chick going. So I'm going to look at this piece here and see if I have enough. And I think I do. I'm going to make one that's probably in between the sizes of these two. So let's put this aside. I'm going to put that right here. So here's what I find works for me, that is easiest, is you'll notice that this is folded over. Keep it that way. In other words, you want two pieces. Put this aside. And I'm going to orient this way, so I could basically have my egg shape here. And what you also could do is, if you want to make it a little more symmetrical, temporarily fold it in half, and you're just going to start here and make your egg shape. You might want to kind of flatten this out so that it has somewhat of a base to it. This is just a guideline. Do not feel it needs to be perfect, and do not worry about it showing, because once we have glued it, we're going to turn it inside out and you'll just see a clean seam on the outside. So take your scissors and we'll line that up again and just start cutting. And as with most tools, make sure you have a good set of scissors. That makes it easy. However, don't worry about whether or not the cut is super clean, because this is going to be on the inside of your stuffed chick. All right, take your scraps there, scissors aside, okay? And that's pretty much it. Now, keep the two pieces together. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this, put this aside so I have a flat surface so that it won't stick here. Take the paper towels. All right, get your glue gun ready to go. And as I've said before in previous tutorials, make sure you have plenty of glue ready to go. And the best thing to do, because you have to stuff this, much like if you were going to sew it shut, start at the top and just take the glue and follow the edge to the bottom here, and then follow this edge to the bottom, and leave a large enough opening that you can actually get at least these 4 fingers inside to stuff with your fill or filler. So let's get started, keeping them together. I'm going to start at the top here, and you're going to put your glue not on the very, very edge, but just not quite halfway, but maybe 3/4 of a border there. And take a nice steady stream. And what I'm going to do is actually quickly work my way down to the very bottom. You could do this in sections, but since I'm working quickly, go ahead and lay it on top and take that nice warm hot glue, use your finger, pardon the orange on my fingers here, it's paint from a previous craft, and just keep pressing down to get those edges down nice and smooth. Okay, now we're going to take and we're going to come down this side. Start right here and then see if I can work my way up like this, working very quickly. Then join those two and then let that flip back over and do the same thing. Keep pressing down. All right. So while we're giving this just a little bit of time to dry, it does dry quickly, but once it's cooled down to my liking here, we'll get started with stuffing it. All right. So here's the opening we have at the bottom. I think it's just enough space. But what you're going to do now is very gently put your hand through. See if you can get to the top here, the top of your egg shape, and pull it out like this. Maybe give it a shake. And that egg shape is going to emerge again. But for the most part, you should have a fairly clean seam. And sometimes I will take a clean wooden dowel and just kind of poke it in there so that you can make sure these edges are kind of flattened out. Now, because this was, not a straight line, you're going to have some imperfections here. That'll happen whether you do it in sections or whether you do it all together. It just depends. I wouldn't worry too much about it because there is room to kind of press it out like this so that your shape is coming alive here. And I wouldn't worry too much about the top because we can secure this with a bit more hot glue, and later, when we're almost there, put a feather top there. Whoops, just fell. Let's do that. So this is pretty much ready to be stuffed. You may just want to inspect the sides, make sure they are to your liking. And then grab your polyfill and in sections just start stuffing away. And this is something you're going to do truly by feel, using the pencil in lieu of a dowel. I'm going to shove that down there to the top. And depending on how large or how small, if you have something that is a little larger, such as this example there, you will need a long dowel or a spoon, like a wooden spoon, because you'll need to get that packed in there as close to the top as possible. Now, of course, you don't want to overdo it. I think this is an exercise in being delicate because this is hot glue. And whether or not you use regular glue sticks, as I've done, just general hot glue, or you could get fabric glue in this stick form to also load into your glue gun, but most of us don't keep anything like that on hand. So, of course, if you're sewing, by all means, use your needle and thread. But I think this certainly shortens the amount of time, and for those that have not learned to sew just yet, if you have a glue gun, you've got yourself a good no-sew stuffing project there. All right, so I'm just going to put a little more in there. Now, of course, like with most things, you just kind of want to keep playing with it so that you really get it to be the shape that you're looking for, because reserve about an inch at the bottom, because this is what's going to be our base, which is essentially going to be this. You could, as I've done with this guy, you could put something to weight it down. Pea gravel, rice, something that gives it just a slight bit of weight, even a rock or a pebble, so that when you want to display it sitting upright, it will have some leverage to it. But if you don't have that, you can just kind of do what I'm doing, and that's just kind of mashing it down like so. And quite honestly, well, let's try with a little bit more. And I'm only thinking a little bit more because it will help round out the edges of the, that egg shape. The chicken and the egg, which came first? Let's see. All right. So I'm pretty happy with this. I'm not really sure which I would like to be the front. Maybe this. So let me go ahead and this is truly the tricky part, because do I need some more? I used all my fiber fill there. You could either cut this, or you could take, and again, front, back, take here, and like you're wrapping a present, take those edges, smooth this out and fold in like this, where you have a triangle at the end. And of course, with a package, you would tuck in like this, and you would put your tape there. But since I am not using tape and I am relying on the hot glue, I'm going to take this, I'm going to put a little dollop there and a little dollop there. I'm going to go back to putting it in like this. And this can be more difficult than it seems, because obviously the fill is pushing its way or expanding out the bottom while you're working, and then you have this hot glue. But what I find is that you could actually cover the bottom with felt. You could make feet. So in essence, it doesn't really matter. Do some there. And I'm basically just rolling this in like this. Okay, now I'm just going to sit and allow that hot glue to do its thing. And as you can tell, I mean, it's not perfect, but it's done. And I'm going to leave it like that for now because I think that is sufficient. And again, you can kind of, once the glue has sufficiently dried, you can kind of play with it. You can even make smaller ones of these, like a bowl filler, possibly, little tiny ones. If you wanted to make bunnies, you could certainly cut yourself an ear and an ear, stuff those, put those on. Sticking to the chick here, let's see, go back to, I'm just looking to make sure we have a fairly even bottom here. I might put some more glue in there and then tip that over. All right, so that's pretty much it for stuffing it. What you're going to do next is we need some eyes, we need a beak, and we need some feet. And that little feather sticking out the top. I'm going to start with the eyes, and I have several types of buttons here. You know, your traditional 4 holes or this type of button. Either would work. If you want to sew eyes, you could use this variety, and you could place them there with your needle and thread and actually go from the back so that it actually is depressed into the shape of the bunny. But we're sticking with the glue, no needle, no thread today. So I'm going to go with these button eyes. Kind of look to see what we're doing here. Your eyes could be far apart, they could be close together. Make it look any way you would like, but before you do anything with that, grab your sheet of felt, because we want to make a beak and some feet. Nothing real technical about this other than what I'm going to do is I'm going to take about not quite half a sheet and cut it width-wise, and then I'm going to take and fold this over, and I'm going to cut out, I'm going to start at the bottom here, I'm going to make just kind of a heart shape, like this, but I'm folding it over because I'm looking for that symmetry. It just makes it easier, but you could cut it free-handed. So this would be the heart to continue there, but I'm also going to give it one more little bump there, like this, maybe round out those edges like this, open this up, and look at that. You've got your webbed foot. Okay, now once you have that, let's see if we have enough. You can use this as a template, put it on your scrap of fabric there, and just cut away. You could also make one big heart and make the center bump and then cut it in half. It's whatever way seems intuitive to you. You're just cutting feet. It doesn't have to be anything complicated. Okay, all right. So we have some feet, and like I said, these are far from perfect. If you want to kind of enhance them a bit, which I think I'm going to do just to give that middle a little more oomph to it, or separation. You could even make it triangular, but I'm keeping in line with the rounded edges. Okay. Whoops. Forgot the eyes were there. So we're just going to kind of see, how does this look? You know, you could separate them out like this. You could put them close together. It's whatever, you know, it's your shabby chick. So we have our feet. Like we have here, if you wanted to make a flat base here and then use twine and just glue your feet to the twine, the yarn, fabric, and have the dangling feet that when you put it on to, say, a mantelpiece and the feet dangle, that's kind of cute too. But today we're just gonna keep it with the theme of the feet. For the beak, you have options here too. You could, getting back to the sewing, if you wanted to take embroidery floss, you could sew a beak, just a kind of an inverted triangle. You could cut a flat triangle, or what you could do here is make a diamond. So take that rectangular piece, fold it down. I'm going to make a rounded, stout beak. Just cutting kind of a U shape there. Just like so. And look at that. There you go. Now, so since we have the beak, the eyes, let's go ahead and apply. I'm going to start by applying the eyes first. Got my glue gun here. Yeah, this is the front. And I'm going to take, you can either put it onto the form or you could put it onto the actual button. But again, be careful with the hot glue. Try to be neat about placing the glue. Sometimes if you get messy, it just kind of bleeds outside of your eyes and, you know, doesn't look the greatest. And as I'm saying that, of course, the glue pops out of the hole and is now spilling outside of the eye, but that's okay. I'm going to hold that down for a moment. Okay, take this. You could also take a black Sharpie and you could draw eyes, eyelashes, keeping it simple. That's one of the things about the primitive folk art, is the simplicity of that style, the minimalistic quality. All right, let that sit for a moment. Take your beak, fold it back in half again. Take your glue and just give it a coating there on the edge. Place it wherever you would like on the face. I'm going to do this one fairly close to the eyes. Okay, now it's really up to you in terms of, do you want to glue it together like this? You could, for example, if you put just a tiny bit of glue on each side here, you can give it a fold. There we go. I don't want to put too much glue there. Like so. I'm not sure if you can see this, but I'm giving it a slight pinch so that it curls over. Do the same here. Let me see here, it would pinch, okay, it would pinch about there or here. And then do the same there. Duck lips. Thinking about those crazy teenagers and those selfies, but hey, that's the description I'm looking for. Some duck lips. There you go. Love it. Okay. Now let's take our feet and put some glue there. Put some glue there. Kind of situate them and then plop it down there. Okay. All right, so I think here they've been placed. There we go. Then go ahead, once you have them in place, give some more glue. Place that down like so. And then just kind of manipulate the filler there so that, you know, because we didn't put any rocks or pebbles or rice or anything to weight it down, you want to give it some stability. And hey, we're almost done. At this point, I mean, you could be done, but I think just, you know, despite the fact that we're being minimalistic here, yeah, you kind of play with it there. There you go. I'm going to take, let's see, I take one feather. Or do I want two? Let's use two. Two feathers here. I'm going to cut them down like so. And I'm going to plop them in this little hole there so that they kind of protrude out of the top of the head. This. Hold that down momentarily, just like this. Okay. And I'm going to take this cute little bow and I'm going to give that a tiny bit of glue and put this just kind of to cover where the feathers went in. Okay. And last but not least, home stretch here. Find some blush. You have some makeup at home. You can take a makeup brush or you could just take a Q-tip cotton swab and make little rosy cheeks here. And just like this, you can make them as wide, as dark as you would like. Now what I'm going to do now is take this, just a little something here that I can rub that with, like this. Just rubbing it into the fabric there. Okay. And one more thing. This here, let's take and make, you don't need anything quite this long, but I'm going to take here, put this over, and then kind of tie it just below where the black and white bow is. and create kind of another bow, like so. Take and trim. And guess what, folks? We're done. I mean, you could continue to just secure things into place so that it's more stable. I really do recommend that you put something in the bottom so that you don't really have to work so hard or prop it against anything. But that's pretty much what we have for our Shabby Chick. Boop. So we've enjoyed it today. Thank you for tuning in. Keep in touch with us, and as always, stay crafty.